I used to watch kickboxing. I love it. It's my passion. That's the thing that got me into all this MMA.
I remember seeing Oleg Taktarov like in UFC 3 or 4 just get his face. It looked like he got beat with a baseball bat.
When I was younger, I'd watch these movies, and I always really respected martial arts and fighters. I mean, I remember I was little. I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. It just never struck me that it's something that, you know, you could do.
I think I was born a fighter, man. I've been a fighter my whole life.
After I graduated college, I wrestled my whole life. They said, you know, we dare you to fight. I said, okay, sure. I went in there. Luckily, I was blessed. I won.
I used to watch Julio Cesar Chavez box. I came from a really big boxing family.
And I remember one day, I was kind of post-high school, just kind of messing around, and I was just working out at the gym with one of my friends, and he told me that his friend was going to a Muay Thai school in the area, and I remember just being on the bench, like, with a bar, and I just put it down, and I just looked at him, I'm like, I want to go to that.
I've always loved to compete. I was always a competitive person, so I was less than impressed with the competition, and it's like, I can do that. I can beat these guys.
I was coaching a wrestling team in Tucson, Arizona, and a student of mine told me I should go with him sometime and check it out because it was really cool. You could punch, kick, wrestle, grapple. And I was like, man, I'm not much of a puncher. I don't know about that.
Basically, my older brother fights professionally too. I went to go watch him in a small organization in Central Illinois, in Ottawa, Illinois, and he was fighting at a strip club, an outdoor venue they were having, and I got there, me and my buddies had a couple beers on the way, and we paid our admission to get in, and then they, over the loudspeaker, they said they needed a fill-in for an exhibition fight at lightweight, and I had wrestled in college, I was building houses, I just got off the fish, I was working on the fishing boat in Alaska, and I was just full of piss and vinegar, thought I was a tough guy, and I gave my beer to my buddy, I said, I'm doing this, you know, and I had to beg and plead my brother, I had to beg and plead his coaches, his manager, you know, at the time, and they finally, my dad was like, go on in there, you probably need your ass kicked, you know, and so they finally agreed to it. I went out there and ended up getting kicked in the face, you know, and then I realized it was a real fight. Like, this stuff was no joke, and I kind of went to my wrestling instincts. I took the guy down. He ended up, like, flipping me over, swept me, and he choked me out, but I got that passion for competition again from college sports, so it was by complete accident is how I started fighting.
Football was my passion growing up. You know, that's all I did at high school, college, everything. I actually walked on at Texas Tech, never really got a chance to play. I went out with the guys on the football team and got stabbed by some guy on LSD. Stabbed me 9 times, punctured both my lungs, almost killed me. And college football doesn't wait for anybody. You know, it's not a professional sport. You get hurt, you don't have a chance anymore. So, you know, I can't say I was gonna go off and play in the NFL. I can't say any of that, but you know, the guy stole my dreams of ever trying, and because I wanted to stay competitive, I started fighting.
I remember going to my dad's house when I was younger, and we'd rent the UFC fights when they were still bare knuckle, man, and we'd go get them on VHS and we'd watch them, and I would go home, I wouldn't tell my mom, you know, and you know, I've loved it. I've always been in love with the sport.
It's like the first time I went into an MMA gym, I tried out just a normal class that everybody else takes, and I loved that. But when it really clicked was I had a guy come in that had he was getting into like his second or third fight, and we got to spar, and I had no fights yet, and he was supposed to be like a cage fighter is what they called it. And I did pretty good with them, so they said, hey man, what do you do? Like, all I was doing was working jobs and going to school, so like, you should try this out, you might be pretty good. About 8 months later, I tried it out, and that was it. After I went with that first MMA guy, I figured out that maybe it's something I could be good at, and I liked it.
It was actually a jiu-jitsu coach out at Texas Tech. You know, he was like, man, you got really good athletic ability, why don't you try Brazilian jiu-jitsu? So, you know, I go in there, do a couple workouts, I'm getting spanked by these little guys, you know what I mean? So I was like, there's something to this more than the eye can see, because there's no way that these guys can beat me. And just took it from there, man, started competing, and went into an actual place where they were holding fights, and was sitting in the audience, and the coach, Clay Pittman, had a guy fighting on the card. They asked him if he had another guy who weighed about 140, 150 that wanted to fight. He's like, man, I got this kid, been training him for a while, he's really tough. I don't know how he is striking, but you know, he's a tough kid. And they came, they told me, we'll pay you $100 if you fight tonight. I said, shit, I'm in, man. And you know, I ended up fighting, beat the guy really easy, and never looked back, man. That's how it turned.